Here I am. Sorry, there's a little traffic.
You set? Yep. You guys set?
Sorry about that.
No, I'll call you.
You're,
Call you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Almighty God, grant us the wisdom to make those decisions that are in the best interest of all of our residents. May the Heavenly Father of us all bless those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation, and may He watch over and protect our servicemen and women now guarding the gates of freedom. Salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Terry, statement of publication.
Yes, Mayor, take notice that this regular meeting of the Mayor and Borough Council being held on this 10th day of June 2019 has been advertised and posted in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Okay, roll call.
Councilpersons Buchanan.
Here.
Delina.
Here.
Enriquez.
Here.
Kilpatrick. McGill. Novak.
here.
Council President, approval of prior minutes of the Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the following minutes, receipt of bids be approved with, subject to correction, the April 30th, 2019 receipt of bids and the May 21st, 2019 receipt of bids.
Okay.
Councilperson Buchanan.
Yes.
Delina.
Yes.
Enriquez.
Yes.
Kilpatrick. McGill. Novak.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, under presentations, Aubrey, now is your time. If you would state your name and your street.
Sure. My name is Aubrey Conway. My name's
No,
Aubrey.
pull it towards you.
No, I can't pull it. It says do not touch.
Ah,
It's fine the way it is.
did
you're a
this
mo-
before.
and you're a mother, so.
Yeah. Following the rules. So don't touch it. Okay.
Well, let's see, go ahead.
Okay. My
Fellas,
name's,
if you want to get on each side to take the video, go ahead.
my name's Aubrey Conway. I live on Timber Ridge Court in Parlin. I was actually born and raised in Sayreville. My father used to own Navarro's Auto Body on Route 35 for 40 years before he retired. So I now am raising my 3 children in Sayreville. And in 2013, I became very sick. I have several autoimmune diseases. I became a medical marijuana patient eventually. I got off 11 different medications. I quickly felt a moral obligation to advocate for other patients that were in similar positions. I also came across terminal children, complex situations and patients in the program that required advocating. I specialize in complex terminal emergent cases. I testify for several levels of government, including the Office of the Attorney General. I did a press conference with the governor. I recently lobbied in Washington, D.C. for federal rescheduling of medical research. I now consult for policymakers, doctors, lawyers, et cetera, and I speak on panels regarding entering New Jersey's medical marijuana program, speaking to children about medical marijuana, patient rights, and the importance of women in the cannabis industry, just by way of qualification. So New Jersey has had a medical marijuana program since Christie was the governor in 2010. We experienced an expansion under Governor Murphy in 2018. We now have 47,000 medical marijuana patients in New Jersey. Medical marijuana and healthcare are human right and bipartisan issues. We've seen this proven by recently the Assembly voted 65-5 on expansion for the medical marijuana program. We don't typically see support for New Jersey bills in those kind of numbers that easily. So that speaks volumes to the need for access for these patients. They need access to the medication that the state allows them.
Aubrey, are you aware that we've had town hall meetings?
Yeah.
And this governing body doesn't have an issue with medical
Sure.
marijuana?
The reason that I get that, and I'm all for that. I'm so glad you guys are for that. But the reason that I'm coming to you today is because now, as we know, there's no recreational law in New Jersey, and that's fine because I'm not here about that. But what I want to know and what others would like to know is, I know that council doesn't have a problem with medical marijuana, but this is now becoming a reality where there are and could be future organizations that want to come into Sayreville, and they want not to have a retail facility here, but to have separate facilities for growing and/or processing that may want to come to Sayreville. So the reason that I'm bringing this up to you guys is because in the past, the licensing for these facilities had to be vertical. They had to grow, process, package, manufacture, everything in one spot and retail it. But now, the licenses that are being given out by the state are separate. So you can have just a grow facility or just a processing facility. If the town wants to host something like that, the town would get the same kind of advantages, tax advantages that they would get as if they had a retail facility, but you wouldn't have any of the traffic of the clientele coming into the town or anything like that. You'd be creating union jobs and careers for people in the town. So the reason that I'm bringing it up is even though I know the council's not opposed to medical marijuana, this is now a reality. There are organizations that want to come into Sayreville.
I
So-
haven't been contacted by any.
Right, that's why I'm contacting you about it.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Last year, we had a subcommittee with myself, Steve Grillo, and Pat Lembo, and we were really focusing on the recreational aspect of it, but during our conversations, we were also discussing the medical, and none of the committee, and I don't want to speak out of turn or for them since they're no longer here, but we're also on the phone with Mike. Nobody had an opposition to the medical portion of it, and we were actually talking about zoning changes that we would want to implement, including the landscaping and no lack of signage on buildings. And I would like to move forward with the medical portion of that.
Well, I have a question for you. Are you done with the presentation part?
Sure, I mean, I know that a lot of this is not a concern for the council because you're for it. But what I'm saying is, sort of like what you said, can we move forward with it? Do you want to speak to
Well,
these people or like,
Let me ask you, we don't know anything about it.
right?
So one of the first questions I have, is this an agricultural business which is like a traditional where you have open fields?
No,
Or is this
it's all
something
indoor.
done in a warehouse type
It's something
space?
done in a warehouse, and it would be, the size that they're looking for right now would be between 5,000 and 20,000 square foot type warehouse. Again, nondescript, no signage or anything like that.
Do you have packages, proposals
So-
that you can deliver to the clerk? So you need 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 10 copies, and then if you can also send it to us digitally, and we can post it up on the borough website.
Sure, that's fine.
Also, everyone seems to tell me that the borough will have a substantial revenue stream. Anything where you have a fiscal or a financial analysis of hosting.
Yeah, community host agreements?
If you could send that, and we would certainly have that looked at so that
Sure.
we can make a comprehensive decision.
Sure, sure. I think what we came across is like, I think these organizations don't know if Sayreville was for it, and Sayreville doesn't know these organizations are looking at Sayreville. So it was just a matter of, will you look at it? Should I get it? Are we open to it? So I'll get that for you. I'll get you
Yeah,
the
sure.
information.
Well, we don't really know
Of
that much
course.
about it.
Sure, that's fine.
So we couldn't really give you an intelligent answer.
That's totally fine, and I'm here as a resource. I'm right in town. If you guys
Right.
do have any questions or anything, I'm proud to have your guys' support.
If
for
you
it.
would send it to the clerk, both in printed form and in digital form,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
and then it'll be easy to disseminate.
I have a question.
Sure.
So Woodbridge has
Yes.
a facility similar, and they sell
Yes.
it there. So
Yeah.
with facilities that would be in Sayreville, would they be selling it as well, or just packaging it and distributing it to other towns to sell?
So as of right now, I'm not here formally representing any one
Oh, no, I
organization.
understand that, yeah.
However, I do know that I don't think retail is the way for Sayreville, but that's my personal opinion. And from what I've heard, it would be more those grow facilities or manufacturing facilities not like facilities, not retail. I don't believe there is an interest in that at this time, but I don't want to squash on anyone else that may come behind me and be interested in retail. But just so you know, it's a new thing for the state to be giving out like a grow license or a processing license. So it's a new idea.
Right, okay,
Go ahead.
Question, Mayor?
sure.
This would be growing and processing and packaging marijuana, but would that be then in turn used for medical? Or would
Yes.
could it be used for recreational if,
Well, the intention that I'm here for is medical.
okay.
Now, there's no recreational law right now, so I am guessing, but it is very separate when it comes to the state. Anything that does come down the way with recreational is something that if you had a medical facility in the town, you would have to, work with your business owner there and whatever you guys agree upon. That would not be something that's forced upon the town or anything like that.
Aubrey, we need more,
Sure.
more information on it.
I'm happy to do that.
But, and these are licenses that the state is formulating?
Right.
So have you spoke with the 3 legislators for the 19th district? Senator Vitale, Speaker Coughlin, and Assemblywoman Lopez?
Yes.
Okay, so do they have these packages? If you send us additional printed copies, we'll make sure that they get it so that they can weigh in on it.
Sure. I mean, this is a
But
local.
this is
issue.
strictly growing and supplying the medical marijuana industries.
Sure, yes, and again, there could be someone that comes behind me that I don't know about,
Right.
talk about retail, but
Right.
as far as I'm concerned,
Right.
I'm talking about growing and or processing,
Right,
not,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
okay?
you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Congratulations on the new baby.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, no okay, under old business, we're going to have the public hearing on the following ordinance, Terry?
Ordinance number 456-19, bond ordinance providing for 2019 acquisition of vehicles and equipment by and for the Borough of Saraville, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $2,100,000 therefore, and authorizing issuance of $1,995,000 in bonds and notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Okay, before I open it to the public, Aubrey? Yeah. If you look tomorrow at Saraville.com, this will be on the web.
Okay.
Either tomorrow afternoon.
It won't be tomorrow, Mayor, there's a schedule for it.
When will?
That schedule is online.
Okay, but you'll be able to direct people to it and probably download it.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to open the public portion on ordinance 456-19. Yes, Steve?
Steve Melanowski, Scarlet Drive, Parlet. On the bond ordinance, it refers in a general statement about equipment, vehicles and equipment. Can we get a little bit more description, Denise,
Dan?
on what equipment?
Go ahead.
It's going to be police vehicles, there's money in there for $6,000 for a fire truck. Code enforcement vehicles, it's all vehicles for all departments. Some trucks, no water and sewer.
No water
Just
and
public works, police, fire.
Various non-passenger vehicles, including but not limited to SUV vehicles for use by the police department, a fire truck, non-passenger vehicles for use by the Buildings and Grounds Department and by the Code Enforcement Department, a backhoe, a dump cab and chassis, hooked lift flatbeds, and an automated truck, and also acquisition and installation is applicable to this various equipment.
Right, my question really is, you have all this equipment, is it needed because other equipment is phased out? Or is it just?
It is replacing old and outdated equipment, Steve.
Some stuff has already been taken out of service, Steve, because of rot. Particularly, I know in Public Works, the salt does a really bad job on the trucks and the entire chassis on one of them. Can't even drive
Our
it.
roads.
Yeah.
Steve, usually we get our dollars worth out of a vehicle. When the police are done with it, their vehicles come over here for code inspection. And they generally have considerable amount of wear and tear on them and mileage. And we have a very talented group of mechanics who take parts from one, put it on another. They stretch it out very well. We can get you a report on it if you like.
You know, what I want to make sure of is that we're not just buying very quickly. Is there any retail value to the old equipment that we
Dan,
sell?
let me have Dan, because Dan's been doing this
Yes.
quite a while.
None.
None.
They have absolutely, anything that they have is just scrap.
So they're
We
depreciated?
take
everything
useful
that-
off of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know the fire truck on the S-curve with the Portuguese flag on it?
Yep.
That went for $300 at auction. And the only thing it was really useful for was raising the ladder as a flagpole. So,
Thank you.
thanks, Steve. Are there any other questions or comments on this ordinance? There being no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion. Councilwoman Novak.
It's actually.
Dave? Well, I read the script pretty well.
Because,
and advertise according to law.
second,
Roll call?
And the public hearing will be held on June the 10th,
6:10. Has been
sorry,
held.
this is the public hearing. Just ignore me. We're good. We're good. Thank you, Councilman.
You're quite
Right
welcome.
on point.
I do promise to.
You're right on point. Who seconded that motion? I'm sorry.
I did.
Roll call?
Thank you. Councilperson McGill?
Yes.
Buchanan?
Yes.
Selena?
Yes.
Enriquez?
Yes.
Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Okay, under new business,
Under new business, I'd like to report having received the supplemental debt statement from our CFO Denise Biancamano as of June 10th, 2019.
next item?
I need a motion to receive and file.
Second.
All ayes, Mayor.
Go ahead. Next item?
Introduction of the following ordinance, ordinance number 457-19. Bond ordinance providing for 2019 remediation of soil and groundwater at the former First Aid Squad site, buy-in, and for the Borough of Saraville, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, appropriating $310,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $294,000 bonds and notes of the borough for financing part of such appropriation.
Okay, before we go further, Jay, can you identify the location of this and what the purpose of the tests are?
Yes, Mayor, it's actually right outside the building here between the.
It's
old
Bernie's
first-
office?
Behind Bernie's current office, behind the garage area, there's been contamination that the borough has been attempting to remediate for years. The state has says you now need to go in and actually remove that contaminated soil. So this appropriates the money.
What is
That
it,
to
motor oil, that kind of stuff?
Used to be fuel tanks, yes.
Right, okay.
This is also Councilman McGill.
Councilman McGill, you're up again.
Thank you again, sir. I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and a public hearing to be held on June 24th, 2019.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons McGill?
Yes.
Buchanan? Yes. Delina?
Yes.
Enriquez?
Yes.
Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Introduction of ordinance number 458-19, an ordinance amending the waterfront redevelopment plan of the Borough of Saraville, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
Okay, this is kind of lengthy. This is the first reading, so I'm going to instruct the clerk to put the ordinance on our website because there's going to be half a dozen or more changes, I think. So we can go online and review it and research it. But with that, I'll go to Councilman Delina.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the ordinance be approved on first reading, advertised according to law, and the public hearing be held on July 22nd, 2019.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Delina?
Yes.
Buchanan? Yes. Enriquez?
Yes.
Kilpatrick?
Yes.
McGill?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to open the public portion to consent agenda items. Are there any consent agenda items? Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Being no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion. Council President?
Mayor, I move the public portion be closed and the consent agenda resolutions approved on roll call vote.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Buchanan?
Yes.
Delina?
Yes.
Enriquez?
Yes.
Kilpatrick?
Yes.
McGill?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Any resolutions?
Not to be read in full, Mayor.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to open the public portion for questions or comments on any and all issues. Are there any questions or comments? Being no questions or comments, I'll
Move the public
entertain.
portion be closed?
Roll call?
Councilpersons Buchanan.
Yes.
Delina.
Yes.
Enriquez.
Yes.
Kilpatrick.
Yes.
McGill.
Yes.
Novak.
Yes.
All right, I'll entertain a
Motion
motion to adjourn. All in favor?
There was one change on the agenda
Give us
section.
2 minutes and we're going to reopen the agenda portion.
It's the first time I don't.
Dan?
When was that?
She's working. She's working on a condition. More to that.
To the Business Administrator, there was an authorization to execute a contract. Police equipment, investigative.
Okay, would everyone please stand for a salute to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Statement of publication, Terry?
Here, take notice that this agenda session of the Mayor and Borough Council being held on the 10th day of June 2019 has been advertised and posted in accordance with Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975.
Roll call?
Councilpersons Buchanan.
Here.
Delina.
Here.
Enriquez.
Here.
Kilpatrick. Here. McGill.
Yeah.
Novak.
You know, I was negligent at the last meeting. A very good and very dear friend of mine passed away, actually of all of us, over the weekend, Rennie Travisano. And he was many things. He was a councilman, he was a guidance counselor, he was a county clerk, but he was a fireman for 50-plus years. So I'm gonna ask Kevin Krasinski to come up to say a few nice words about a friend, a colleague, and a fellow firefighter. Remember, firemen are blessed with the courage to run into the burning buildings we run out of. And Rennie did it longer than most people are alive. Kevin, if you'd come up, please, and talk about the arrangements for Rennie on Wednesday.
Bear with me. It's been a busy weekend, to say the least. Okay. Rennie Travisano, I'm sorry, Kevin Krasinski, Chief Sayreville Fire Department. Rennie Travisano was a 54-year serving member, currently still serving to date upon death. Rennie was active in the fire service in all facets, loving the fire service and dedicated to his community and fellow man. It is with deep sadness that we announce his passing. Wake services will be 3 to 7 on Wednesday, June 12th at the Gundren Home for Funerals in South Amboy. Fire department services will commence at 6 o'clock. Fire department personnel will be in Class A uniform. 6:30 evening, the Knights of Columbus will hold their services for Rennie and his family. On Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. at St. Mary's Church on Augusta Street will be the Mass of Christian burial, followed by interment at Holy Cross Cemetery on South Pine Avenue. Again, Rennie was very dedicated to his community, his fellow man, served his country with grace and honor. It has been a pleasure and honor to work alongside Rennie in my 25 years with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Can we have a motion for a moment of silence for our good and dear friend?
I move that we have a moment of silence for Rennie Travisano. He'll be sorely missed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And just a note, as important as the other positions were that Rennie performed. Rennie was also a veteran of our country. So Rennie, thank you for your service. And with that, we will go on. If you have any questions, as I call it out, please speak up. Ordinance 457-19 and 458-19. Under committee reports, Councilman McGill, Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. Minister Department reports. B, applicants received for bingo raffle licenses from the following organizations. Number one, Sammy's Hope to conduct an off-premise 50-50 on October 26, 2019 at Julian Capic Nature Preserve, and on-premise draw Tricky Tray and an on-premise 50-50 in bingo on September 7, 2019 at St. Stan's School. Number two, Save Obama's to conduct an off-premise raffle on October 9, 2019 at Washington Road. Approved. Number three, C, receive tax appeal from the following. Number one, R. Simon, 55 Horseshoe Road, Sayreville, New Jersey, Block 34706, Lot 218283. Other than that, Mayor, progress.
Okay. Dan, if you would, about St. Stan's Carnival?
Because it was mentioned here for all of you, just because I think it's going to be before our next council meeting, the St. Stan's Carnival will begin June 19th, I believe, and go through June 22nd or 23rd? 22nd to June, what is this? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we're just announcing it before, we won't be able to do it the next council.
And that is a great time had by all. I look forward to it every year. With that, Planning and Zoning, Councilman Delina.
Thank you, Mayor. Minutes and departmental reports. Number one, Planning Board minutes from April 24th, May 8th, May 15th, receive and file. B, receiving the following Planning Board resolutions with memorialized on June 5th, Ott Daniels minor subdivision, receive and file. C, notice of adjacent municipality property owner, number one, received a notice of public hearing for the Township of Oldridge to consider the adoption of the master plan amendment, receive and file. D, request received for Miss Donahue, 27 Charles Street, Old Bridge section for the 2013 curb and storm drain paving project to resume as was paused due to Hurricane Sandy.
Jay, what was, give us a synopsis of your report.
Yes, Mayor, the borough was in the process of doing reconstruction on William Street with storm drainage, curbing, and paving, and that's when we had the issue with Hurricane Sandy, so the borough decided not to put the final coat of pavement down because of the demolition of the houses that was going to take place. Since that time, you have not decided to move forward with that final paving.
How many people live on Charles Street now?
The paving would only actually be on William Street and the intersections with the
This
other.
between, yes, Williams is dead end that connects to Bordentown, so that was the street that was under construction.
Only one street.
And what's the price tag?
It was $75,000 to do that final paving.
What is the will of the council? Do we have it in this year's budget, Denise?
No, it's not.
All right, so then it's got to get pushed to next year.
At the very least.
Okay.
I think the request is to actually pave Charles Street, and that was never supposed to be paved. It's only the intersections. I think it goes up to where the storm drains, maybe 10 or 15 feet at each intersection onto the side streets. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Public Works, Councilwoman Novak.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor, I had one more thing to
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I took a ride down Pershing Avenue a couple weeks ago. The road was being paved, and I understand the concerns of the citizens and also what Kevin Krasinski was talking about, how parking should be on one side of the road, and I feel that it should be on the side that it is currently, and we should enforce that. I don't know how the majority of the council feels about that.
We're still in process of discussing it, so your comments are noted in the official records of the borough.
I think we really have, we know from the police department that it has to be on one side of the street. We, as a council, have to make a decision which side of the street.
Mary, we had the residents come, let's have them back. Let's hear their point of view. They've lived there for 60 years.
I hear what you're saying.
We're not here to serve Bernie Bailey and what Bernie Bailey wants
Mayor,
on Bailey Court.
Mayor, it's just very.
That is exactly what everybody
No,
on that street
If that was the case, then
feels.
why does the police department and the fire
Mary,
marshal feel
it's
this is a problem?
everybody that lives on Pershing feels that. Bernie will tell you, he's the guy driving this.
No, he is not. That's not fair.
Okay.
I remember when Vern Chevrolet needed an ambulance one night, and we could not get it down the street, and we
Mary,
had to go totally
What I'm
around
saying
to
is,
get there.
have the residents come back because they are the ones affected.
Mayor, we
Mayor,
had
if I
one
may.
person complain about the one side, and the other person complain
Yes,
about
but then
the
we
other.
all agreed that we would go back into discussion. We
No,
haven't
Mayor.
finished the discussion.
We met, the public safety,
Listen, you guys can blindside the public all you want. You have the votes.
I don't necessarily think it's a blind side, though, because
Evan, I'll disagree.
it's already been discussed, you know,
I
and
disagree. But you guys, again, you have the votes, so you can
I mean-
do this.
Mayor, if I can have Kevin come up and just say a few words about this, because he's been involved in our subcommittee meetings that we've discussed. We already had over 2 meetings with the residents on this, and there is an ordinance on the books. So if, Kevin, you don't mind just coming up and just giving a recap of what you advised everybody on council.
Kevin Krasinski, Fire Chief, Fire Marshal, Borough of Saraville. The issue arose after receiving a complaint from the road supervisor and sanitation supervisor respectively regarding trucks being able to safely pass down the street based upon the current parking conditions on both sides of the street. After an initial site visit to the area, I concurred with what their findings were, that this would be problematic to get emergency equipment down the street in the event of a house fire, somebody having a heart attack, fall victim, stroke, what have you. So the roadway is narrow, measured less than 21 feet, taking in consideration for parking allocations of 7 feet for a vehicle. If that's on both sides, that's 14 feet. The width of a fire truck is 9 feet. That is over the 21 feet. So we will be unable to safely pass down that street with vehicles on both sides.
Now, remember, for 60 years, it's worked, and we have numerous other streets that are of the same width. They were built when Saraville, they were built before World War II, and I don't hear the other residents saying anything, but I do hear the residents of Pershing who are opposed to this.
I understand that, Mr. Mayor. If we had used the RSIS standards as listed as today, which would be the residential site improvement standard, the width of the roadway would only be
Kevin,
designated
we
for
have,
two
most of
vehicles
ours, most of our old streets are non-compliant.
I understand that, and as I said. we
But
have
for some reason, this one got singled out for action.
There were others in the past that were singled out, such as Giordano Avenue.
Kevin?
Mike, what is our liability if we don't act?
Well, you placed on notice of an issue, so you could anyone, if there's property damage or injury, since we are on notice, and if in fact the EMS or fire truck can't get down, and we failed to, protect the safety, welfare of the neighborhood, the borough could be exposed for litigation, personal injury, and hopefully not.
So what, right now, what we have is, we had an ordinance put on the books. We had subcommittees to see what the residents, what side they preferred on. We have a recommendation from the new sergeant of traffic saying that he recommends coming from coming from Washington Road, having it on the natural right-hand side when you come down from Washington Road down Pershing. So then it was up to the council. We're going to leave the ordinance the way it was, or take the advice of the new sergeant of traffic and do it on the other side of the road. So that's where we were.
We, as a council, we have to decide
Mary,
which side it's
your
going
mic isn't on.
It is, I just turned it a little bit. We have to decide, it's not a matter of, we have to decide as a council. We have one resident that came and complained the first time. We moved it to the other side of the street. Then we had one resident who, at the meeting, never said a thing. I sat there for that whole meeting. Was it about an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yes.
Never, it was all brought up, it was discussed, never said a thing. Came here and she said she was upset because she doesn't have a driveway and she's going to have to park across the street and carry her groceries across, whereas the people on the other side, at least they have a driveway. So we as a council now have to decide, one or the other, we have to do this. We can't keep playing games.
So then I think we just keep it how it is and enforce it. I
The
don't know
current
how it
ordinance
pleases the rest
right
of the
now
council.
says,
I second it.
Anyone else?
well,
So we just enforce it moving forward?
Motion to.
I make a motion, we keep enforce the law how it currently stands.
I second it.
This is tabled, so that brings it to a
Yeah,
vote.
but we're not going to bring that one back. Okay. We're going to go with the original one.
So you leave it as is.
I thought we weren't supposed to do this at,
Well, again, I think the issue here is you already have an existing ordinance.
That's right, it's already existing.
So I think all you're doing is saying, hey, listen, you're not gonna change it, and you want enforcement.
I think the way
We
that,
actually-
there was a pause on enforcement.
That's right.
There wasn't a
We
change.
put a pause
in-
on enforcing it until we had 3 meetings with the resident and traffic safety.
There's an ordinance that's been tabled, so this discussion here today is, shall we move forward with that ordinance or not? My understanding, based on the motion, would be not to move forward with that other ordinance that's been tabled.
Right, the ordinance.
So there's
just
no action to be
remains- right,
taken.
No action at all, right.
Other than
so what about the
having it
motion
die?
that was made, seconded, and voted on?
That would just be to have the ordinance
What do we
die.
do with that?
It's just a motion to enforce you're not taking any action. All you're doing is, it's a policy consideration saying that you want enforcement of the existing ordinance. You're not taking any action to bring back the ordinance that has been tabled. Essentially, you're saying, listen, and directing the police chief to enforce the existing ordinance on the book, and you're not going to be changing it.
Oh, we had a motion and a second to enforce it.
What was the is that what the motion is? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We passed that last year, I think, didn't we, Ted? Yeah.
Yes.
We just got to enforce it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we need a vote on that, Ted?
You can vote on it. I mean, it's a policy.
don't know whether we-
It's a policy consideration. You're just saying, hey, listen.
To
we're not-
enforce the ordinance.
Right, you're enforcing, you wish to have the ordinance enforced.
Councilpersons Delina?
Yes.
Buchanan?
Yes.
Enriquez?
Yes.
Kilpatrick? Yes. McGill?
Yes.
Novak?
Yes.
Okay, anything else, Kevin?
Progress, Mayor.
Progress, okay. Public Works, Councilwoman Novak.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like the minutes and departmental reports as listed on the agenda under A1 to be received and filed.
Next item?
Okay, I would like the approval for the request for the block party as listed under B under the agenda.
As long as they follow the normal signature and police.
Yeah, it was all in the package.
Okay.
Okay, if you give me.
Anything else, Mary?
Yes, I'd just like to do a road update, and Jay, please correct me if I'm wrong. Pulaski Avenue, we're looking at being done by August 1st. Is that correct? Okay. Hope, Warwick, Yorkshire, and Devonshire and Pillar are done except for punch list items. Is it totally done now, or we're still on punch list?
Still punch list.
Okay. Partial road repair on Farrat and Road and Oak Drive intersection, and the Fort Grumpy, that's all finished?
Correct.
MacArthur Avenue, Algier parking lot, we went out to bid. I think that's in your report
We're
today?
going to receive bids tomorrow.
Okay. Ida, Hillshire, Harkins, Tower Lane, the design work is complete, and when are we going to be going out for bid
That will
on
be
that?
advertised middle of this month, so another week or so we'll
Okay,
advertise.
we'll advertise for bids. Hercules, we're looking at starting the design work for the roads August?
We're working on design now, looking for fall construction.
Well, that's great. Also, if you'll give me just a second, I'm not very good at this. I wanted to, there is going to be some milling and paving done in conjunction with the county, and I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry. You wouldn't happen to know the names offhand, because I had it, and oh, wait a minute, here we go. Milling and paving with Middlesex County. This will be done during the month of July. Ernston Road, Washington Road, from Ernston Road to Main Street will be done in June. Main Street extension to Raritan Street, that's going to also be done in June, between the 26th of June and July 2nd. And Ridgeway Avenue, from the hole in the wall out to 35, that will be done the first week in July. Did I miss anything, Jay?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, that's it, Mayor.
Okay, Recreation, Councilman Enriquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Move the following minutes reports be filed and received. Recreation Advisory Board minutes of May 2nd, 2019.
Second.
All right, application for a special event received from Rabija Salo to hold a wedding on their property of 67 Pine Tree Drive on August 17, 2019. There was no impact or objection received from our department heads. Look to approve it. And that's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Water and Sewer, Councilwoman Kilpatrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no minutes or departmental reports, however, I do have a couple of things to go over. The first is just to really commend once again this year's LEAD graduation took place at the Samsville Upper Elementary School just this past week. As many of you know, we have started our new community policing program here, and now that does fall underneath, the LEAD program does fall under that, and I just want to say, once again, to Officer Morales and the rest of the officers involved, including the chief, it was really impressive. The information that the children receive for countless years, especially at the UES, it really does make a difference in these children's lives. So there were 520 students that were graduating from the LEAD program this year out of the Samsville Upper Elementary School, perhaps one of the largest classes that we've seen in several decades. So I just ask that when we do have our discussions about how important it is to be cognizant of the housing projects that we bring in, that's 520 kids in one grade that are now all going to make their way into the middle school. But not to detract from the LEAD graduation, it really was an impressive day, and I thank all the officers because I know that on a daily basis, you guys are coming in and out of those buildings now, and I hear so many great and positive things, not just from the teachers and the students, but also from our police officers. They really love going into those buildings, so thank you. Moving on from there, at our last meeting, it was obviously a long one. One of the things that I took away from that meeting were the concerns of the residents in reference to Kimball Drive, both east and west. One of the biggest things that struck me was the fact that these residents, rightfully so, were concerned about the potential of eventually one day having truck traffic going through that residential area. That is something that I would never support, and I really would like to show them how much we heard them, and I think our entire council was in agreement. I would like to ask that we put an ordinance forward stating that we would be restricting any truck traffic with the exception of, like Ms. Novak said, deliveries for those residents. I think that this is the right thing to do. This is the way to address a concern like that. It has nothing to do with that redevelopment plan. An ordinance is a law of the town that turns around and says, we do not believe that that is the most appropriate place for trucks to be traveling on, and we can make that a law within our town. So I would ask, unless the council has any objection, that we authorize our council to draft an ordinance that would state specifically that we would not have truck traffic within that area, that would be a restricted use of that particular road. Does anybody have an objection, and do I need to move with any other type of formal action to do that? So Mike, if you would prepare that, I would love to have that on our agenda for our next meeting. And last but not least, while we all took a moment of silence for Rennie Travisano, on a personal level, Rennie, he's been a family friend for many, many years. My parents, my grandparents, all growing up in Morgan, many people know Rennie was self-proclaimed and unofficially the mayor of Morgan. He proudly wore that title. I think he had a sash that he would bring out every now and then, all joking. But more importantly, over the last 5 years, Rennie has been my buddy on Sarah. He's literally been my right hand, and I miss him already. I missed him because he's been sick for a while and he was not at our meetings. So to my friend Rennie, I'm going to miss you very much. And that's all progress.
I noticed in the legislative bulletin that it's just a bill right now. It hasn't been made law, but they're trying to require the Board of Education to have law enforcement officers in public school. But what I found interesting on here is it says the schools can then request funds from the Safe Neighborhood Services Funds. And I would like Dan to look into, we're doing it voluntarily now, Can we look into the Safe Neighborhood Services funds and get some money from it now? I don't think it should have to wait till it's mandated. That may never come to fruition, but obviously that fund exists, and if we can get some money out of it,
I saw that too. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't write it down in pen. And that had been discussed for quite a while. I was happy to see that it made it onto the publication.
but whether or not it's ever comes law, that fund exists, and we should try to see if we can get money out of it now. And also, former Councilman Ray Skarzinski, many of you knew him. He was, like Rennie in the fire department, Ray was on the first aid until his back would no longer allow him to do it. And his loving wife passed away suddenly Sunday night. She went into the hospital Wednesday and passed away suddenly. So if we can have a moment of silence. Helen's in heaven, I'm sure of it, but maybe for Glenn and Peter and Ray and Tracy, for them. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mary. With that, we'll go to Public Safety, Council President Buchanan.
Thank you. No minutes or reports. Under letter B, I'd like to have that approved as long as everything's in order, Terry? Everything's in order. All right, thank you. Number 2, I was approached recently, actually back on Memorial Day, and I was supposed to bring it up the last meeting, and I forgot. But the fire chiefs, it's been requested that the fire chiefs get a service award at the end of the year. I spoke to the mayor briefly about it. He's in agreement, but I'd like to put something in an ordinance form granting that. They are volunteers and they give a lot of their time working.
What was an award and a stipend?
Yeah, it would be worded as,
$500 stipend.
yeah. If
For
anyone doesn't-
3 years, Kevin? For a 3-year volunteer leadership position, which I have no objection to, and either does the council president.
Does anyone have any objections to it? If not, I'm gonna have Mike, ask Mike if he.
Any objections?
Right,
Do an
can I just
ordinance.
ask, because that is from, would it be from this moving forward, or is it also, what year does it begin?
Kevin? I would, Chief Kanka had volunteered during some very trying family times, a lot of illness in his family, and he still kept his commitment to the community to serve. So I think we should go
18
one
forward.
back to Fire Chief Kanka.
2018 and forward.
Any objection?
The other thing is, like Vicky was saying, at the last meeting, it was a very heated meeting, and one of the things that was passed over, and I want to make sure, since I'm not going to be here on the July 2nd meeting, since it's going to be brought back up, and I don't know if it's something that's substantial or not, but I want to make sure that we have in that ordinance that it prohibits the 24-hour operations. Like I said, I went to a council a couple of weeks ago. We had people at our residents coming to our meeting about a business in South Amboy that's operating 24 hours, and the negative effects that they're having now. I would like to make sure that we put it in our ordinance so that we don't have 24-hour operation of that facility.
Counselor?
Yeah, I don't know if, I'm not quite sure if that's permitted, but what you can do is you can set forth a policy directed to the planning board to ensure that 24 hours doesn't occur.
If it doesn't happen at an ordinance level, on our level, then it can't happen.
Correct. However, right at this point in time, there's no, let me speak to Susan Gruhl regarding that, because it's directed to her report. So let me talk to Susan in the morning and let her know.
Okay, because I know there's other businesses that we restrict that can't operate 24 hours, so
Yeah,
I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do it on this property here.
A
Since
little
we're
different,
doing
but
zonings.
I'll talk to Mrs. Gruhl.
Okay, other than that, progress.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mary. Mary, you're not speaking in the mic.
Bring it closer. I believe it was Ruth Ann brought up something about how Jackson Avenue, we put the same restrictions on, only truck traffic still is using that, going in and out of ShopRite. Maybe you didn't say it, but somebody said it. And I think that we do have that restriction, and perhaps we should look into it, so whatever we do with Kimball Drive East and West isn't ignored too. So we need to enforce that, if that's going on, because it wasn't, the truck traffic was supposed to come down North Ernston Road and into ShopRite and out the same way. And it's my understanding from the residents that they're going out Jackson Ave anyway, so.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Mary. It comes down to the enforcement on that. I agree with you. I think we might have a little bit more luck because ShopRite doesn't exist there. I get why they probably do it. Hopefully, this one will be much easier
I guess
to
it's
enforce.
easier for them right now to just, they pull in one way and go out the other way, but
Yeah,
they're tearing up the streets, and that street's too
should-
narrow for the damn trucks.
yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, we good? All right. All right, so I'll go to the business administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Authorization to participate in the appeal of the Verizon Hopewell matter for the cost of $2,000.
Next item.
Rezo, please. Authorization to extend police off-duty detail management contract with Extra Duty Solutions for one final 2-year term.
Next item.
There is a recommendation made by Sergeant Braille for a dedicated handicap parking space, which he received for 53 Smolin Street.
Next
Mayor,
item.
if I could, I would like to speak to the chief on this real quick, just because, looking at the map, it looked like the handicap spot would be in front of the neighbor's house and not the residence, so I just want to get clarification on that before we move forward on that.
The next meeting?
Yeah, to have it back on the report again for next meeting.
Get some clarity on it, Terry. Next item, Dan.
Authorization to execute an agreement between the Borough of Sayreville Police Department and the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office for the Skywatch surveillance platform.
Next item.
Authorization to appoint John Amundo as water treatment repairer in the water treatment plant effective July 1st, 2019.
Anything else?
That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. CFO Denise Biancamano.
Authorization to amend the 2019 local municipal budget for the following items: Safe and Secure Communities Grant in the amount of $60,000 and Clean Communities Grant in the amount of $80,941.92.
Any objections? Borough Engineers Report, Jay.
Thank you, Mayor. First item, Pulaski Avenue Tank, we're looking for a resolution authorizing Tank Industries to exceed their original authorization, provide extra work on that project due to delays caused by the antenna removal and also the scheduling of the contractor.
Next item.
Second item is the DOT Transportation Trust Fund grants. We're looking for resolution to submit for 2 projects. One is on Ernston Road and the other is pedestrian improvements on Bordentown Avenue. And then the next 2 items, MacArthur Avenue, Algier, we're receiving bids tomorrow. So if everything's in order, we'd like to have resolutions at your next meeting awarding those contracts.
Anything else, Jay?
That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Borough Attorney.
No report, Mayor.
Okay, this time I'm going to open the public portion for questions or comments. Steve?
Steve Melanowski, Scarlet Drive in Parlin. I know we tabled the Fulton project at the last meeting. However, is it in order for us to ask how the committee that was formed, I think her name is Lisa, I can't remember her last name, if they are meeting or is any progress? Are we allowed to talk about that? I know once an item is tabled, you're not supposed to discuss it, even though I hear we're talking about streets and Kimball Drive, et cetera. So I'm just asking the question, are we allowed to ask how this set aside?
They haven't sent an update to us, nor did I expect one.
Do we even know who's serving on the committee? Did we ever receive
That's-
a list of
that's-
names
that's
or
my
anything like
question.
that?
I mean,
Would that be possible for us to get a list of names who's serving on that committee?
Sure.
Yeah?
Dan, if you would.
Is that exactly what you're
Or
looking for?
Terry, ask Lisa who's on the committee. Co-host.
but it's not,
Arthur, would you have it? Okay.
it's not only the names of the committee, I mean, can they
Yeah.
report some kind of progress or what are they discussing?
Meeting dates and things like that and things they've
Yeah,
discussed?
Yeah, I'd just be, as a resident, like to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Mike?
Mike Diadio, and I'm the chairman of Sayreville Economic Redevelopment Agency. I'd just like to make a comment or ask a question about the 24-hour ordinance, Councilman, that you proposed. I don't believe that the steel mill or Saybird have a 24-hour restriction. I want to know why you think it's okay to discriminate against these warehouses that aren't even built yet.
My concern is with the truck traffic. If it's going to be, my understanding, a distribution center, is very close to several different residents. The 24-hour truck traffic going up and down Main Street is not going to be
I
workable for
understand
the
your
residents.
concern, and I'm not saying I don't agree with you, but you don't have that ordinance against Sabert. You don't have it against the steel mill. Why do
I
you
wasn't
think-
there for those ordinances, but I've seen firsthand what not having 24 hours does to a town, with South Amboy's having an issue right now. I don't want to see, if we have that ability here today, let's do it now, today, rather than have residents come up and complaining
You may
a year
have
from
the
now.
ability to make an ordinance, but if you think a guy like Peter Mako, and I'm not saying he's my buddy, I'm telling you from a devil's advocate point of view, you have 1.8 million square feet that is yet to be discussed or made, or even 600,000 square feet, and he's going to have to rent it to tenants. I don't believe he's going to be okay with being singled out and discriminated against when you don't have it against Sabert or the steel mill. Now, are you willing to put that same restriction on the steel mill and Sabert?
Right now, we have nothing built, like you said.
Yeah, three.
We have residents that are concerned,
I understand that.
and that's where I'm
That's
going
not my
with
question.
this.
Are you willing to put that same restriction on Sabert and the steel mill?
We've had no complaints about them yet. I haven't had any
They
complaints
have
about
truck
that.
traffic. You don't have any complaints about this. It isn't even built yet.
There's concerns, so let's nip the
There's
concerns
no
in the bud.
complaints yet.
There's
We
no-
don't even know
There
what's
are.
going in
There's
there.
residents that came up at the last meeting. We were here till almost midnight, listening to all the
They're
concerns that were coming
talking
forward.
about what may happen or could happen.
Sure, and that, this is going to help reduce that
So you're going to
possibility.
you're going to discriminate
And
discriminate
my
against
concern
this
isn't
builder.
what Mr. Mako rents and who he rents to. My concern is the 40-some thousand residents and the residents that are directly affected right there. Let's not have them affected by,
And
reduce the
just for the
possibility.
record, this is a 7 million square foot site. They're only proposing to cover 23% of it. It's not as huge or as massive or mega as everyone's making it out to be. There's going to be trucks. Trucks don't all come in. I'm in this business, by the way, just for the record. You don't schedule 100 trucks to come in at one time. Trucks, there has to be receiving, unloading. It's every hour, every 2 hours per company.
Right, and your
Depending on how
business
many
is down in an
companies are in
industrial area. You're down in an industrial area. This is gonna be right in a close proximity of residences.
We haven't seen where these warehouses are going yet. I haven't seen anything at Sarah yet. Out of the 7 million square feet that's proposed, or 7 million square feet on the site, we don't know that the warehouses are going to be by the residences.
The map that we got showed that it was.
It's not approved yet. Nothing's approved yet. Nothing's been discussed yet. Nothing came before Sarah where we're putting these warehouses, if approved, if that's your decision on this site. I'm just telling you guys, just be careful what you wish for, okay? Because you already took a beating in court with Mr. Mako. You owe him 1.3, 1.5 million for legal fees already. You spent 1.7 of your own on legal fees. Just be careful when you make an ordinance restricting hours on a business when you're not restricting it on other businesses right across the street. Thank you.
Steve?
Steve Melanowski, 28 Scarlet Drive in Parlin. Respectfully, Mike, what could come is something that this council and this town needs to be prepared for. And truck traffic has been already cited, and I heard the quote at the last meeting, 200 and odd trucks on a Saturday. No matter what we do, if we don't get it in the ordinance up front, is what I heard, and Mike, maybe you can correct me, but I think that getting it up in the ordinance is what we need to do now to avoid what's there before. And where the warehouses go, I don't care, the trucks are gonna go. And I think.
If I might, Steve, I appreciate, I think everyone appreciates the 24-hour truck traffic, but remember, they already have existing pre-approved 24-hour truck traffic. So it's not simply just putting it in the ordinance. There's more to this. So, and I hear the concerns. Everyone hears the concerns.
Well,
So please, just remember that it's not as simple as just creating and drafting an ordinance, since they do have an existing pre-approved plan for a 24-hour. The planning board adopted 3 warehouses allowing for 24-hour truck traffic.
Well, then shame on us, because nobody thought of the residents when they were approving this. And I'm appalled at the fact that right now, we're boxed in. And when somebody tells me
Well, it's
we
not clear.
can't forecast it.
It's not forecasting anything. I'm just saying at this point in
No,
time.
I didn't
it's not-
mention forecast, somebody else did.
It's simply just not creating an ordinance. There's more to this, and it has to be researched. But I think everyone understands the concerns. I think everyone on this.
Okay, and I
Mayor and
guess
council.
what I'm trying to make a point of is thinking ahead and what could be is an important criteria for anything this council's going to vote for us, because that is all going to affect our residents.
Steve, you had a question about also the committee. Do we know how people are being appointed to this committee and who's approving and denying people who are just serving on them? Or who chooses them? Is there anyone who's?
I asked Lisa to put together a committee of 9 people of affected residents to meet with the Mako people. And as far as I know, that's what she did. She's a very competent person.
Okay. I just wanted to ask.
Thank you.
Okay, Ruth Ann?
Ruth Ann Mahoney, 2 Gerard Place, Portland. The warehouse issue has me personally most upset. It's an awful, awful thing. It doesn't belong where it is, but it's going to happen. I think as citizens, we're just concerned to try and prevent what can be. We're talking can, can't, we're talking schematics here. It's not a good thing. It's not going to be a good thing. Yeah, it's going to create jobs, so forth. But it never belonged in the middle of Sayreville. The roads aren't going to take it. You're talking Main Street, the people on Kimball, they're going to be so affected. Well, so is everybody else. Where are the trucks going to go? Ernston and Washington. They're talking about, I just briefly looked at it, getting trucks to Route 18, Route 9, the Turnpike. They already come through Sayreville to avoid tolls on the Turnpike. So now we're going to add to all of this. 24 hours, it's going to happen. All warehouses seem to work 24 hours. I think it's a one against the other. It's going to be bad no matter what, my opinion. I always say my opinion. But I think you all need, and I'm so upset by this warehouse issue, I think you all need to look at Sayreville and the residents of Sayreville, not the warehouses. And that's what everybody seems to be concerned about, is the warehouses, not us. That's all.
Are there any other questions or comments? Mike? No? Then I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone. Whatever's in chemo, just gives you. I gotta answer your question. There's a nerve in the lower GI. Now, one of the things that seems really seems she went to see her. Yeah, no. Did you experience that? And it was all chemo related. No, but when you right. Based on. She'll make it.
I gotta get off.
Thank you.